Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Scientology Q&A. I'm Marc Headley. I'm joined today by my lovely wife's Claire's chair. There she is right there, Claire's chair. Claire is on a well-deserved girls' weekend, and she is joining us in the comments today. I was going to say, well, the cat's away, the mice will play, and then she showed up in the comments. So I'm still being watched and observed. So yeah, if you are joining us today, feel free to let us know where you're joining us from. And today's secret word is all-nighters. We're going to be talking about the Sea Org, Scientology Sea Org, and the schedule that the individual members there keep. And if you're amazed at how long they work and what they do, we'll talk about that and when we get to the comments as well. One of the most common questions that we get asked on our channel is, what are these Sea Org members doing all day? Like, how could they keep busy when Scientology is continually shrinking more and more every year for the past several decades? And we'll talk about that. We will do a Q&A at the end. So if you have questions that are Sea Org schedule related, we'll try to answer those. We're trying to make it so that we have sort of a library of all these different Scientology subjects and things that go on. And so we want to try to keep the questions that you guys ask about the Sea Org and the schedule so that this video is, more productive, more informational than we would normally do. So let's go through some of the comments. We'll see who's coming into from where. We got Lupita from Texas, y'all. Thanks for joining us, Lupita. Jerry Miller from Omaha, Nebraska. Good old Omaha. Betsy Sue from Myrtle Beach. Thank you, Betsy Sue. And then we've got Xenuite from Austin, Texas. Hey, Xenuite. I watch a lot of videos that are taking place in Austin, Texas. And then we got Necessary Trouble from Glasgow, Montana. Looking forward to this. Look at that. This is another good chance for me to mispronounce a lot of things that I normally wouldn't be saying. So thanks for that, guys. Hello from Florida, Ion Plock. And then, here's Matt Denny. I think he's coming from the UK, right? Ooh, alive. And here was me thinking I was going to bed early as I'm going back to work tomorrow. Watching from Norfolk, England. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for joining us. Frequent flyer of the channel. Look, from Catherine's here from Willamette Valley, Oregon. I'm probably saying that right. I know there was a big controversy on where and how to say that. Alcester, South Dakota, 1776. Angry. Oh boy. Hello, chat. Listening in New Hampshire while crafting. Well, nice. I like that. I listen to a lot of podcasts and shows when I'm on the way to work. I'm on a project right now where I have about 2 to 3 hours to travel every day, and I usually listen to music, but lately I've been putting on YouTube and different podcasts and stuff. Susie Spoon, hi from Hunter Valley, Australia. We did this video a little later today because I got some complaints from the Down Under folks that they never get to join lives. So I said, okay, well, I'll do it a few hours later. It's still early in Australia, but not so early. Howdy from Wyoming. And, oh, look at this. Good to see you, Mark, watching from Monrovia. That is in California. Thank you, Jacob Harkey. Okay, wow, we've got a lot. Willamette. Good evening, everybody from Central Arkansas, from a poet, Brian Lucas. Okay, and then we've got Hey Neighbor from Largo, Florida. Okay, that's a lot, guys. That's a lot. If I missed you, I'm sorry. There's a lot of people from a lot of places. Hello from Chicago. Thank you. Here we go. Do one last one. Merrimack, NH. Is that New Haven? 65 degrees. Mark Heck. Okay. Oh boy, that's a lot of people. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We appreciate it. Again, if you want to join the giveaway that we're doing at the end of the video today, just type in #allnighters, and then we'll get right to it. Let's see, is this the one? Yeah. So I got a hold of this schedule. It's funny, actually. I searched for a schedule, and it just happened to be a Golden Era production schedule, which is where I worked for many years. Oh yeah, another thing. I'll just go back here for a second. Um, we have, according to YouTube, we have a ton of new viewers that are tuning in each week. So if I do say things that we've covered in past videos, it's for that reason. But I was in the Sea organization. My name is Marc Headley. I was in the Sea organization from 1989 is when I joined. I was recruited for the Sea organization. I grew up in Scientology, and I was working and attending a Scientology school in the late 1980s. And the school was actually being run by Scientology's Sea organization. It was called the Delphi Academy, and they are under a group called Applied Scholastics, which is under a group called Able International. And Able International is the Social Betterment Corporation of Scientology. It runs Scientology's social betterment corporations, which they include to be Applied Scholastics, Narconon, which is a drug rehabilitation system developed by L. Ron Hubbard that's based on no science whatsoever, and is actually pretty unhealthy, and they've had a lot of deaths. A group called Criminon, which is basically just the first part of the Narconon program. You do the courses and stuff, but in prison without the drug detox. And then another group called the Way to Happiness Foundation. And so I was attending this school, the Delphi Academy, which is a Scientology owned and run school. They use L. Ron Hubbard's what they call study technology. And they teach you a lot of Scientology in this school on the courses that you do. And then I was recruited. I was 15. I just had turned 16 years old when I was recruited, or I was just turning. I was right around there. So it was in the summer of 1989. And I worked in Los Angeles at I was actually recruited for the organization that was in charge of the school. So I was recruited to work at ABLE International, the Association for Better Living and Education, which is in charge of all those social betterment corporations. And I worked there for about 9 months. And then I was transferred to the international headquarters in Gilman Hot Springs, California, where Golden Era Productions is located. And I held many posts there. I was a quality control technician. I was a systems designer and installer, audiovisual systems designer and installer. I was a shoot crew chief, which is equivalent to a first assistant director on a film crew. I was a pre-production director that got all the costumes, makeup, sets, and props and research done for films. And then I was an assistant producer of all of the audiovisual products of the international headquarters at Golden Era Productions. And then I went on to become the executive producer. And then I was director of Audiovisual Systems International. And then I skedaddled. And when I skedaddled, it was in January of 2005. So I essentially worked at this Golden Era Productions facility in the Sea organization from 1989 in LA, and then 1990 to 2005. And this schedule that I'm going to show you is the bare minimum schedule of a Sea Org member. And pretty much all Sea Org members have a schedule that's very similar to this, no matter where they are. If they're in another continent, or if they're in Los Angeles, if they're in Florida or New York, there's Sea organization installations and what they call bases all over the world. And there are probably between 3,000 to 4,000 Sea Org members internationally. And you get paid. When I was there, and I've been told that it went up for a little bit, but then it went back down. You get paid around $50 a week. That's what you get paid if in the Sea organization. For the schedule that we're about to show you, you make $50, and then they take taxes out of that $50. You get about, when I was there, I think it was $46.24 or something like that. $44.26, something a little, almost $45 is your takeaway after the government gets the cut. So yeah, $45 a week for this schedule. So now let's show the schedule. Okay, so this is and this is what's called an issue in the C organization. It's just something that's issued to all of the staff, and it's basically like general information. And this is the Golden Era Productions Extension Unit basic schedule, and this is from 26 June 1987. So it's a few years before I started working there. But this was generally the schedule at the Int base as well, at the Golden Era Productions main property. This unit, there's a unit in Los Angeles because we're a studio in the middle of the desert in Gilman Hot Springs, California. It's about 2 to 2.5 hours outside of Los Angeles. Because we're dealing in the studio world, we often need studio equipment and parts and tools and camera equipment and lighting equipment that is located in Los Angeles. So there's an extension unit in of Golden Era Productions in Los Angeles that goes in. They're basically a logistics arm of the Golden Era Productions desert base, and they go pick up equipment and then they send it out to the property. Because it's a confidential location. There has to be like an in-between, a go-between, a cutout to go get this stuff. Okay, so Golden Era Productions Extension Unit basic schedule: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday basic schedule. Now, the reason that they exclude Saturday is because on Saturday, there's a policy that L. Ron Hubbard wrote. L. Ron Hubbard was the founder, the source of all Scientology technology. L. Ron Hubbard wrote that if you worked in Golden Era Productions, that you should do what's called renovations every weekend and enhance the property. So there's a core team of electrical and construction and HVAC. There's like a handful of guys that are in each of those departments, and they do like change the filters and stuff like that. But if a new building needs to be built at the property, the staff of the property build this building. Like everyone who works there. When I was there was almost 1,000 crew that worked at this property. And I would say about 800 of those people participated in the renovations. Like David Miscavige, the chairman of the board, RTC, he ain't doing renos on Saturday. And there were other executives like that, like the heads of some of the different organizations, like the commanding officer of the Commodore's messenger organization. He's not doing renos. So it's mainly the rank and file that would participate in the renovations. And so that's why Saturday's got a different thing. And we'll get into renos a little bit later. Okay, so this schedule has them from 0900 to 0930 breakfast. So in Los Angeles, they live and work in the exact same location. So they're just walking from one building to another building, like on the same block usually. Or maybe in the case of the complex in Hollywood, they might have an apartment building that's 5 or 6 blocks away, and they just walk to the property. I think now they have almost everybody living in the main building at the complex. If somebody knows something different, you can put it in the comments, and hopefully those people star it. I might even read it. Okay. So half hour for breakfast, 9 to 9:30. From 9:30 to 9:35, you have what's called a muster. And in the C organization, you at least have 3 musters a day. Sometimes you might have 4 or 5, depending on the base and what's going on at the time. At the Int base, there were times when we might have 5 or 6 musters a day because so many people were escaping from the property that they needed to count their chickens, every few hours to see if we lost any, so that they wouldn't get such a big head start on the people looking for them. I laugh, but that's 100% true. Okay, so you have a muster. That's basically the commanding officer of that organization is like, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. This happened yesterday or last week. We're not doing any of that. We're going to do this, whatever. It's supposed to be like 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes these musters would go for an hour. If there was a lot of stuff going on, it was a lot. Okay, then in this schedule, they have these guys studying in the morning. Now, a study period is 2.5 hours. So depending on your schedule, you would either study from morning to lunch, or from mid-afternoon to dinner, or after dinner for 2.5 hours. It's a morning study, afternoon study, or an evening study slot. So these guys here in this unit in LA would study in the morning, and you can see it's from 9:35 to 12 o'clock. It's 2.5 hour slot. Then you have from noon to 12:45, they had exercise time and hygiene time. This is wild, guys. So this is basically exercise time. So they've got 45 minutes to exercise and then wash up after exercise. Now I'm not familiar with this midday exercise time thing because we at the int base, our exercise time was at 10 o'clock. We would exercise from 10 to 10:45 and then it was the end of the night. So like, well, you don't need to wash up because you're just going to go home. You should probably take a shower then. So you would just basically get on the bus after exercise, stinking like you just played 45 minutes of basketball. Okay. Then these guys are having lunch from 12:45 to 1:15. Now that is a normal meal time. That's a half an hour meal. That's a normal meal in the Sea organization. I don't think in the entire time I was there, lunch was more than a half hour. And that's travel time to lunch, eat lunch, and travel time back from lunch. So if you worked at the Gold Base, your work building could be a 10-minute walk from the dining hall. And if you left at 11:50 to go to lunch at 12 o'clock, you were in trouble. So yeah, some people will be like, I got to go pick something up over at the garage. And the garage was next to the dining hall. And you'd leave at like 11:45. So then you go pick something up and then you just go eat. You got to really be strategic on how you're going to milk that 30 minutes there. Okay, then we go muster. Okay, here we go. See another muster. This is very key. I saw this in the comments. Chinese school. Yes. Look at Claire's like Chinese school. Yeah, Chinese school. We'll talk about that right now. Okay, so from 12, so this says 1:15 to 1:20 muster and Chinese school. So again, they got to count everybody. And the way they do a muster in the Sea organization is you line up at attention in lines of your division. Now, if you have a giant division, you might have several lines, but usually in a Sea organization division, there's at least 3 departments of each division. So you would line up by department. And if your department had 100 people, then you might have to make 3 lines. Your department and the department head would be in the front of the line, and then maybe section heads in the front of the other lines. In almost all the organizations I worked in at Golden Era Productions, there were hundreds of people in Golden Era Productions, and all of the divisions I was in were at least 25 to 60 people in that division. So it was many, many lines of people. And if you were low on the totem pole, you could be at the way back side of the muster. So the lines of people might be 20 or 30 deep in each line. So if you were like, just a worker bee, you just be at the back of the line. No one could see you. No one knows. And you could be fucking around back there. You could be talking to somebody while the muster's taking place. It's a very formal thing where you're at attention and you're supposed to be listening. And if you're way in the back, sometimes, nonsense could be got up to there. Anyway, Chinese school. So what they would do at the muster, and this was normally a lunch and a dinner muster thing. Sometimes we would do it at morning musters. If some sort of strategic direction was issued by David Miscavige, he would write this whole big program and plan and everything. And as part of that, one of the steps would be for the crew of any certain organization to have to Chinese school a certain thing all the time at every single muster. And in Golden Era Productions, L. Ron Hubbard actually suggested in an advice that Golden Era Productions should Chinese school the definition of a team at musters. And so I would say for at least 10 of the 15 years I was there, we at almost every single muster, we would Chinese school the definition of a team by L. Ron Hubbard. And it was this whole issue. It was like, I want to say maybe 10 or 15 paragraphs. And we had to do the entire thing. And what you do is they have some people that hold up this giant sheet of paper, like a roll of paper, and someone has written in giant letters this L. Ron Hubbard saying, and it would say, team, the definition of a team. A team is a group of people that get along and they usually do great, whatever it is, and it's all written out. And the person in front of the group says, team, what is it? And then you say, team, the definition of a team is, and then you read the entire thing. And if the crew can't read the entire thing without messing it up in perfect unison, then they have to do it again. And then you have to do it again. And you basically have to keep doing it until you know it by heart. And then they take the thing down. They take the writing down. And then the person just stands up there and says, team, what is it? And then the entire crew in unison has to say, team, the definition of a team is, it's a group of people that work along to a common purpose and they normally get along great. Now the trick is to come up, and you have to read this entire thing and get it perfect. We probably did that with 100 different things. That was just the definition of a team. There's tons of other things. You have to Chinese school the purpose of Golden Era Productions, the valuable final product of Golden Era Productions, all these different things, knowledge reports, policy letter about, Joe pinprick. It's a whole policy letter, and you have to do that whole thing. Anyway, that's Chinese school. That's supposed to take, that's supposed to take 5 minutes. It's never really that fast. Okay, then from 1:30 to 5:15 is production. Now, in this unit, these guys are driving around Los Angeles picking up packages for Golden Era Productions in the desert. So their time to do that is from 1:15 to 5:15. Now, of course, if you're going out to Alhambra or Monrovia to pick up some speakers and there's traffic, you might not make it back in time for this. So these guys are a little loosey-goosey, but this was their general laid out schedule. Okay, then from 5:15 to 6 o'clock, they have dinner. Now, that's a 45-minute dinner. Okay, now I don't mind saying that these guys seem like they might be slackers. Okay, because 45-minute meals, that's wild. Golden Era Productions, we were rocking 30-minute meal breaks. And we were even rocking 15-minute lunch and 15-minute dinner breaks for a while. But it never, we would have a half hour. And when we'd get 45 minutes? I think on Thanksgiving, we would get 45 minutes because you can't be eating all that Thanksgiving in 30. You got to get an extra 15 minutes to chow down on that stuffing. But yeah, that's a lot. 45 minutes. Whew. I don't know what you're going to do with all that time. Okay, now you've got from 6 to 6:05, another muster. So this is the third muster of the day for these guys in LA. And they live and work in mostly all the same places. And every one of these musters, everybody gets rounded up and gets counted. And and when you go to the muster, the division heads, I didn't tell this. So there's the DIR, which is the Director of Inspection Reports. He's like the chief of police for that C organization. And he has under him they're called MAAs, Master at Arms. And they're like the police, they're like the police officers, and he's the chief of police. Anyway, and the MAAs are they're trying to keep track of everybody, and they're the ones that find out if somebody escaped or whatever. They got to track them down. But the DIR says, attention, and then everybody, stands up straight and faces forward. And then they say, what do they say? Somebody help me out here, SEERG members. I think they say Division 1, and then the head of the Division 1 says President are accounted for. And depending on what's going on at the time, there might not be able to have any accounted fors. But like in Division 1, they have the switchboard operator, the person who answers the phones. So that person's always on the phone. They don't go to musters. There's certain people, like the security guards at the booth, they're watching and opening the gates, and they're being the security guards. They're not coming to muster. So Division 1 might say President accounted for, and then the commanding officer or the DIR says who's accounted for, and they go 1 on reception, 3 on watch, 3 secured from watch. So the night shift that's sleeping is secured from watch. So they would be sleeping. So you might say 3 on watch, 3 secured from watch, 1 on reception, and 1 on a project, or somebody tracking somebody down. They'll just say somebody's on a project, or they're out, or whatever. They'll use some kind of coded wordage, and then they just go through Division 2, accounted for, present. Division 3, present. Division 4, present or accounted for. And they'll just go through. And then depending on what's going on with the muster, they might ask for those people that are accounted for. Okay, then muster. Okay, then letter writing. Okay, and that's from 625, 605. This is really tiny, by the way. I should make my screen bigger. Why am I doing this? There you go. Okay, 605 to 630. So 25 minutes of letter writing. Okay, we're going deep. We're going inside baseball. I'm trying not to, but Golden Era Productions, another thing that L. Ron Hubbard wrote about Golden Era Productions. And if you're a staff member in any Scientology organization, or if you were, you'll know this. There's a thing called the Org Gold Officer. Oh, somebody's texting me. Did I mess something up? No, it's junk mail. So L. Ron Hubbard wrote that every single staff member in Golden Era Productions, every Sea Org member in Golden Era Productions, should be writing to somebody in a Scientology organization about using the products of Golden Era Productions, the tapes, the lectures, the CDs, DVDs, VHS, laser discs, whatever it was that we were sending these guys at the time. And so you would have to write. I did this for many years. I was, I think I had New Haven, Connecticut, and someplace in Ohio. Each person in Golden Era Productions had to write to a person in one of these organizations. And if you were a Sea Org member at Golden Era Productions, you were just assigned an organization. So I had Ohio for a long time, and then I think I got another one, and I just had to write to these people. I didn't know any of them. I would just write to them, and you had to write. If you wrote 10 letters this week, you got to write 11 letters next week. And then 12 letters and 13 letters and so on. So you're just writing these people the most Monday, like, hey, Bill, I never heard back from you on that last, how many course packs you sold that had lectures with it. Please write me. That's it. You would just crank out about 10 or 15 of those. And whoever in Golden Era Productions, whoever's division wrote the most amount of these things were called OGO letters, Org Gold Officer. Whoever's division wrote the most OGO letters, he would get donuts. And Claire and I were laughing because when we were doing that Severance episode, they have this thing. What is it called? The waffle party. We had the donut party. We actually did have a donut party. This is not a joke. We would have staff meeting, and then they would announce, okay. And also it's a totally rigged game, because like some divisions have 12 people. Like the sales division has 12 people, and they're actually the ones that are in charge of the Org Gold Officer program, which I didn't even realize until I just said it. But they have 12 people. Well, the estates division has 100 people. There's hundreds of people in this division, or a lot, maybe 70 or 80. At times it was giant, and at times it got smaller. But regardless, those guys would almost always win. And they're animals. They're big construction guys and HVAC guys and the grounds crew and the electricians and all these guys. And they would literally, the OGO officer, that was her post. This lady, her name was Marge, and she wore these like alien antennas, and she would get up at staff meeting and go, okay, the winners this week are the estates division. And they won every single week for like 5 years. And there would be tables and tables of dozens of donuts, and they would literally descend on them like chum for sharks, and just obliterate these donuts. Anyway, so that's what this letter writing nonsense is about. Okay, then production. So now from 6:30 to 9:45 is production. And so that's another period where you're just working. Now, I don't know what these guys in LA are going to do from 7:30 to 9:45. They probably have to fill out paperwork and stuff like that. That's probably what they do, because everything's closed. But at the base, we were making CDs and DVDs and VHSs and cassettes, and we were making things where I worked. So that's what we would do during that time. We just make more stuff. Um, okay, so now it's 9:45 to 10 o'clock. Oh no, it's 11:45. Sorry, guys. 6:30 to 11:45 is production, and then 11:45 to 2400 is cleaning stations. So there's no maids in Scientology. If you work in Treasury, the people that clean Treasury are the people that work in Treasury. And so for 15 minutes every day, you're supposed to do cleaning stations, basically wipe your desk down, take out the garbage, do the shredding. Oh, that's another thing. In Scientology, you're not allowed to throw any paperwork in the garbage. Everything has to be shredded. If there's words on it, you have to shred it. And so you have to do shredding during that time as well. And then at midnight, you secure. That's just a normal day. Okay. Now, if at Golden Era Productions, if we're supposed to make 50,000, we stand tall. You know that video where David Miscavige is wearing that Hermes? I'm not going to say the word, but he's just wearing a sweater that might not a masculine man might not be wearing. He's wearing a sweater and he's singing "We Stand Tall." Okay, we made cassettes of that Scientology music single, and we had to produce like 50,000 of these things. And if they've got to get done, they got to get done tonight. And if it's time to secure, which means go to bed, and we've only got 10,000 and we're supposed to be up to 30,000, well, we best be getting to making 10,000 of those tonight. So by tomorrow, we're on target with whatever we're supposed to make that. Anyway, so you would just stay up all night. You would just, instead of getting on the bus or instead of walking back to your berthing, you just go back to work until somebody says you can go home. Now, in a lot of areas in Golden Era Productions, if the boss or the head of the division is staying up to work on a certain area, it's just expected that anyone who's in that area stays there until they leave. So if the place where I worked for many years was the manufacturing division, and I was in the AV production division, which is the ones that made the tapes and the CDs and the VHSs and all that. But if the people that made the e-meters were in the same division, that was called the HEM department, and we were the AV department, and then there was a systems department. And if the HEM guys, the Hubbard Electro Meter Manufacturing department, if they stayed, if the div head, the head of manufacturing, the manufacturing stayed up to get all these meters fixed or made or whatever, then it would just be a given that everybody who worked in the meter department would be there until it was done. And sometimes if it was a huge flap and the manufacturing division was going to be in the shits because of the meter guys, the systems guys and the AV guys would also stay up all night and work in the meter department to get whatever they needed done. And so you had to be a jack of all trades because you could be doing your job during the day, but then you have to be doing somebody else's job all through the night and then go back to doing your job during the day. Anyway, so you basically from 9 in the morning, that's when you turn on, and you turn off at midnight. And so from midnight to 9, that's where you have going to your wherever your bed or your berthing, as it's called in the Sea Org, wherever your berthing was. Sometimes that could be a 15-minute bus ride. Sometimes that could be a 10-minute walk. Sometimes it could be a 3-minute walk, depending on where you worked and where you lived in a Sea Org base. And then shower and shave, and then bed, and then back up in the morning and do it all over again. Yeah, I did that for 15 years. And I would say at the Golden Era Productions property, you would usually do the minimum of one all-nighter a week, depending on what division or department you were in. You could count on one all-nighter a week. And there might be some periods where few months where you go with no all-nighters, and then you could go into some periods where there might be 4 or 5 all-nighters a week. And usually on Sunday or Saturday, depending on where your Sea Org base is, you have we basically have the morning to do what's called the clean ship program, or basically your laundry and clean your room in where you live, your berthing. And that's where you might wash your bedding, vacuum, dust everything down, clean the toilet, clean the sink, whatever. And then, and you had 3 hours to do all of that. And at every Sea Org base that I ever went to, that 3 hours was just extra sleep. You would throw your laundry in when you got home. You'd get up at the last possible second and you'd shake something off and put it on. And that 3 hours was sleep, no matter where you went, or time to get up to nonsense that you weren't supposed to get up to. You'd have to get up because you basically had 3 hours where really nobody was keeping track of you. And so that's usually people chose to do that. And also in a lot of Sea Org bases, you would have a staff meeting on Friday night. I don't know if they have a staff meeting. We'll have to look and see if that's included in here somewhere. I think it's at the bottom. Anyway, there's also a staff meeting, which usually will happen on a Thursday or a Friday night, depending on what organization you're in, but usually it's Friday. And then, and that after staff meeting on Friday, it would basically be party, because you don't have to go to post on Saturday because you're going to do this renovations thing on Saturday, which we'll get to that in a second. How am I doing on time here? I'm doing perfect. Thank you. I'm good. Just ask me. I'll tell you. Anyway, so you do, you take off on Friday night, and then you might, if you were really going just a wild and crazy kind of guy, you might order a Domino's pizza and watch a movie if you could swing it on Friday night, because you could stay up to like 3 or 4, because the next day you're going to be doing block wall or stone veneer or mixing concrete or electrical or, plumbing or underground sewage. Nothing important that's going to need like sleep or brain power. And so you'd party on Friday night, and then you come into Renos hungover, and not hungover from drinking, but just hungover from more not sleep. And then you do that all day long. And then you go home. You're supposed to shit, shower, and shave and get cleaned up for what's called source night. And on Saturday, you have to listen to like a L. Ron Hubbard lecture. The whole entire crew, they all go in there and they just sit in the seats and they listen to an L. Ron Hubbard lecture. And it usually is good, depending on how long the lecture it is. It's usually an hour to 2 hours, an LRH lecture. And it's him giving a lecture to people in the 1950s or 60s or whatever. And it's long, and it's also completely boring, bunch of nonsense, gobbledygook, and also prime opportunity to get some more sleep in. But if you're caught sleeping at source night, you usually get in trouble. So you got to have like a really good way to. I was telling Claire one time I would put my hands on my knees and it would go like this, like I was listening, but really my hand was just propping up my face, and my fingers were just poking in my eyes so they could be closed. And I could get a good 45-minute cat nap in at source night. Anyway, a lot of fun. Okay, so now let's see Saturday. Breakfast, muster, Renos, hygiene time, everything's the same. Renos. Okay, so Renos, like I said, Saturday Renos, you could literally be doing anything on Saturday Renos. I did electrical, concrete mixing, block wall, stone veneer, plumbing, HVAC, engine repair, and grounds. Those are all the things that I did over the 15 years. I could arguably get a job at doing any one of those things, and it'd be a no-brainer for me, because I did it every Saturday for 9 months, and then the next thing for 3 years, and then the next thing for 2 years, and then so you get to be a jack of all trades. If you're sometimes there's people that are just kind of worker bees. They usually get thrown on the grounds, like de-weeding, or just doing something that it's like, whatever. If you do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. We can't count on you to do anything. But if you were passionate about a certain trade, or if you, in a previous, before joining the Sea Org, if you worked in a trade, usually that was what you did. Like if you were an electrician by trade before you joined the Sea Org, most likely you just be an electrician in the Sea Org. And if you weren't, if you were also a really good audio engineer, then you'd be an audio engineer during the week. And then on Renos, you would 100% be an electrician. So that was that. That's also usually all the trades I did were usually very physical. So you would mixing concrete and doing stone veneer and stone work and block wall or MCUs, masonry concrete units. That's heavy work. So yeah. Okay. Renos. Okay. For this place, I guess in the afternoon, they go back to production. So they would only do like a morning Renos in Los Angeles. Oh, and here's where the CSP is. So it says 8 o'clock to 9:30. Is that right? Am I spacing it on military time, or is that 2000? No. Ooh. Yeah, that's 8 o'clock, right? 8 to 9:30. I don't know. I think I'm losing my mind here. An hour and a half for org CSP. Sorry. So org CSP. So that's basically just like a really long cleaning stations at the org. So on Saturday night, that's true. Oh my God, org CSP. So org CSP at the int base was a nightmare because there was an organization called the Commodore's Messenger Organization. And there's one that's international. And then there's a Commodore's Messenger organization that's solely assigned to Golden Air Productions called CMO Gold. And these CMO Gold cats, most of them young teenage females, would be coming in with white gloves on, and they would just rub the tops of doorways and shelves that haven't seen the sun since 1982. And they're just wiping these white gloves. And if the glove's not white, then you got to keep going. And then they have like 20 different areas to inspect. So you have to wait for them to come back around. You could be there till 3 o'clock in the morning waiting to get your white glove inspection approved. So that was just a general Saturday night fun, kind of just like Wheel of Fortune, depending on who's inspecting and what's going on this week. We might be up till 3, or we might just be here an extra half hour. Okay, now they have from 9:30. Oh, from 9:30 to midnight, personal CSP. So that's hardcore. So they figured out a really good way to game the system in LA. They basically just had personal CSP on Saturday night. This is LA Sea Org members thinking here, because Saturday night in LA, that's a party all day long. So they made their free time when they're supposed to be doing their laundry on Saturday night. Yeah, see, we didn't have that at the int base. They made it on Sunday morning when everything's closed. Okay, then staff meeting. Here it is. Staff meeting. It says product conference. Oh yeah, so every Sea Org member has to have a product conference every day. Product conference for all execs and branch heads daily. Saturday product conference is at whatever that is, 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 to 8:30, and then 6 o'clock. I don't know. Anyway, they're having product conferences every day. You want to talk about micromanaging? The Sea organization is managed by the hour at the staff level, and then you literally are micromanaging every day and every week, and that's the longest period you really manage by is a week. So if you made 85 widgets last week, you got to make 86 widgets this week, and so on and so forth for the rest of the time until you crash and start all over again. Holy moly. Yeah. I'm just going to do some questions on Claire. Were you two married at this time that Mark is talking about? Yeah, we were married from 1992 until now. Yeah. Right. Don't mind. I'm good. Just ask me. I'll tell you. Yeah, that's a long time. Okay, let's go to the comments. There's just a lot of nonsense, guys. That's all I can say. That is, there you go. I don't know, I haven't done the math on it lately, but I think that schedule, if you just do that schedule, it's between 100 and 120 hours a week. Basically, that's the bare bones schedule, 100 hours a week. If you're making $45 an hour, that's basically about 50 cents an hour. I think when I calculated my pay divided by hours, it was 36 cents an hour is what I was taking home. I make considerably more than that this last week, but and in the past few years, but 36 cents an hour is what a Sea Org member today is probably making right now. Is about 36 cents an hour. It is common knowledge that that Sea Org members make less than most prisoners in most countries. Like I was watching a documentary on a prison in some foreign country. These guys are making $4 a day. That might be more when they're also getting Saturday and Sunday off. I mean, what the hell? They're in prison. They're making the same amount as the Sea Org members. And for a while, I think what's considered Chinese slave labor by today's standards, the people that work in factories and there's inhumane conditions and all of these things, they make more than Sea Org members and they get more time off. Think about that. That's wild. That's a wild thing that Chinese slave laborers make more money and get more time off than present day Sea Org members. Somebody can fact check the hell out of that if you want, but that was the case a few years ago when I was researching it. Okay, for real, we're going to do comments now. Eliza, your detail about the insanity of this organization is the best way to illustrate the destructiveness of this cult. Thank you for your integrity and stamina for continuing to speak out. Well, thank you, Eliza S. I appreciate that. Like I was saying earlier at the top of the show, this is one of the most widely requested things on the channel is what are these guys doing and what are they up to? So I figured we can do it. I know we've covered this kind of stuff before, but I've never really gone through the schedule and just talked about this. Apostate Alex in the house. The U.S. government spends more money per meal than the Sea Org. Oh, yes, this is another thing at the Int base, and we thank you, Apostate Alex. We've talked about this. The budget allocation for Sea Org food for Sea Org members at the gold base was $1 per day per crew member. Okay. Now we weren't having the best of food. We weren't having the worst of food, but it was the cheapest of food. That's for sure. And there were many times where the crew got food poisoning in mass. That happened, I think, at least 3 or 4 times that I can remember when I was at the property. There was a taco incident, which was very infamous. I think that was like that got like a 99% take rate on people that ate it. Like there were lines and lines at the restrooms for hours. Question, Xenoite question. I understand you adapt to the time, but people's bodies eventually just give out. What are the weirdest places or you or someone else was found someone sleeping? Oh my God, this is such a great question, Xenoite. Yes, you do wear out and you do fall asleep. I've heard of people falling asleep standing up vacuuming. I've heard of people climbing into crawling into a closet and then closing the door behind them and going to sleep. The best one ever was this kid named Trevor who was in New York. And I think I talk about this in my book. Claire can pipe in if it is or isn't. She edited a lot of stuff out of the book when it had to make a certain page number. And I know I wrote the story, but I don't know if it's in the book. This kid named Trevor went missing while we were having to do the audiovisual systems in New York. And he just went to sleep behind a curtain in the theater in New York organization, the one right near Times Square. He just literally crawled behind a curtain and went to sleep. And he slept there for like 19 hours. They thought he had blown and they sent people out to go look for him in Times Square. And he just like popped out behind the closet like 18 hours. Is like, hey man, what's going on? And people were like, oh dude, people are looking for you. They think you blew. And be like, well, I only slept for a few. No, it's Tuesday, dude. Anyway, yeah. We covered that. Okay, good. From a poet, I worked a lot. I worked a lot when I was serving in the U.S. Navy, but we got paid really well, got fed well, and had plenty of time off. Yeah, a lot of times the Sea Organization is compared to the Navy because L. Ron Hubbard, he liked doing Navy stuff, and so like the orders of the day and the way things are organized and the communication systems, a lot of it is loosely based off of Hubbard's experience in the military, and so a lot of people can compare it to that. But every person I talk to who's in the military is like, oh, yeah, the Sea Org is like boot camp that just never ends, where they're just constantly breaking you down. Excuse me. But the pay is just not good and the time off is not good. And also, you're not really doing anything of value or productivity. Rorschach 2112, finally able to catch a live stream. By the way, I have that same shirt. Well, okay. Awesome. This is Untuck It. This episode is sponsored by Untuck It. It's not sponsored. I bought this thing full price. Thank you, Rorschach. That's very generous of you. Question: did Claire have to do all that you had to do? No, Claire was in a totally. Thank you for that, love, Maddie. Claire was in a totally different division when she was in Golden Era Production. She was in the qualifications division. And she was a supervisor, a course supervisor. So she would just supervise students that were studying L. Ron Hubbard courses. And then she was also like when somebody was doing a course and it didn't go well or it was going bad, she was a person that would review why it was going bad. And then she was promoted to the Religious Technology Center, and then she didn't do anything that I did. And for a while, she did a very similar function in Religious Technology Center, where she was like in the qualifications department of Religious Technology Center, and then she became what was called the internal exec RTC, which was just the executive that was in charge of the internal divisions of RTC, like Treasury and the executive division and the divisions that were within RTC that were not outward or external facing. Okay. Oof. Okay, good. Did that. Oh, Claire Headley on Scientology. Best hack ever. Go into an auditing room and put in the in session sign, turn light off, sleep on floor. Yes, this is a very well-known fact that auditing rooms, because it's a Hubbard policy that you're not allowed to disturb an auditing session. It's what's called a high crime. Somebody Claire can correct me on this, but if you disturb a Scientology auditing session, I think you can be declared a suppressive person. It's that kind of level of you cannot do it. So if you want to take a really good nap, just go into an auditing room, put in session on the door. That's it. No one's going to bang on that door. You could be in there for days and somebody wouldn't do anything. Thank you for that, Claire. Oh, Dalton, my favorite Mark saying. That might be I'm good. Just ask me, I'll tell you. Okay, Melanie Johnson, question: did you ever look at the schedule and think this is nuts? Yeah, I lived it. Of course, I was always thinking it was nuts. Yeah, it was. I'm just telling you, when you get to that point, your body, oh my goodness. Dr. X, this work schedule is a rigid system designed for you to fail, which is a form of mind control to make you feel worthless when you fail to meet expectations. No kidding. Thank you for that, Dr. X. Yeah, so this is also, I didn't even really get into this. What time is it? Ooh, we got 7 more minutes. Okay, I'm going to tell this one last thing and then we'll get to the giveaways. Okay, remember how I said you're doing your work and then on Saturdays you got to do somebody else's work, you got to do the renovations? Well, during the week, also, like when I was saying, if your department was tanking and you needed to help from your other departments in your division, then they would come in and bail you out. Well, sometimes that happened with whole divisions in regards to the organization. So if there was something that needed to get done, like if David Miscavige said, I want the entire property resodded by Monday and it's Friday night. Okay. the entire property to be resodded would take hundreds and hundreds of people all doing sod all day, all Friday night prepping it, ripping up the old dirt, all Saturday hosing everything down, all Saturday putting new sod down, and then all Sunday putting new sod down to have it all done and tucked and fluffed and tucked and ready for Monday morning when David Miscavige. So if something like that happened, everybody would come off of their post and just do that. And that is something that could happen maybe once or twice a week, or maybe once a month, depending on what was happening. And if David Miscavige was there at the property, when he was there, he would be walking around and inspecting and going into people's areas, and inevitably would order, this has to get done, or that has to get done, or this. So whenever he was there, it was basically like a chaos machine of just wherever he went, there would be just a path of destruction. And most likely you'd end up doing something on that area, or you'd hear about it, or there'd be this kind of flap, or this person would go to the RPF, or everybody would get assigned a lower condition, or you name it. It could happen from him walking into somebody's area and doing an inspection or doing something. Okay. Xenoite, just listening to you read that schedule is making me exhausted. Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing is now, I mean, this last few weeks, I've been doing a project here in Colorado, and I'm getting up at 6:30, and I'm getting home at 6 or 6:30. And it's a lot for me, but I mean, kind of like not really, because I had so many years where I'm just accustomed to just working. Like if something is a problem and you have to stay an extra 2 hours, it's 4 o'clock. You have to be here till 6 o'clock. Whoopie-doo. I used to work in a place where something could happen at midnight and you'd have to stay until the next morning. And it was just like, you got to do it. It is what it is. Anyway, yes, it's a lot. Okay, one last one. Catherine Olson said, we had OFOs, org flag officer. Yeah, so if you were in management in Los Angeles, then L. Ron Hubbard wrote that those guys should be writing to the organizations. I tell you, these Scientology organizations have all these random people writing to them all week. They don't have time to even read the letters, much less respond to the letters. Catherine can say, if they were getting lots of answers, I literally think I might have written 2,000 letters to these people in Ohio. I think they wrote me back like 5 times. So yeah, it was just a statistic. You got to write this many letters and you just send them out. You don't even care if they answer. If they answer, it's actually a pain in the ass, because now you have to be like, oh my God, I wrote this 9 months ago. Okay, so it's totally not relevant anymore. And they just answered it. And you're just like, you literally would write a letter saying, dear Jim, thanks for answering. Did you find out about the blah, blah, blah? And then just send another letter. Okay, let's go to this giveaway thing. Let's see what's going on here. Thank you guys for all the comments. I'm home alone on this thing. Let's see what I got. Oh, look at that. I already got it. 42 people have entered in to win. I thought we'd have less than that, but okay, there you go. That's good. Let's see what the live is saying. Again, if you want to get in here, the keyword is all-nighters. The secret word is all-nighters. And Christian B says, you're still awesome. I absolutely need to catch up on this channel. Jealous of the beard growing ability. Yeah, I can grow a beard. No problems. This is like 2 weeks, right? Something like that. Maybe 2 months. All-nighters. Yeah, there's a bunch more people coming in there. Yeah, if you want to win, just type in all-nighters, and yeah, you could win a free gift from the BFG merch store. Okay, I'm going to do the draw here. Pushing the button, I think. There it is. Okay. Oh, look at Clara. Claire. Oh, and Shannon. Oh, I almost won. Oh, Robert almost won. And I won. I knew there would be a day when I would win. You know what? I deserve that. I really do. With all the stuff I give away, I think I'm going to get, what should I get? I think I'll get a Xenu as my homeboy sweater. Of course I'm going to redraw, you maniacs. Okay, hold on a second. Jesus Christ. Somebody said rigged. I'm drunk. I only commented one time. I said to put all-nighters in the thing. Nikki Ann, congratulations. Wow. Yeah, look at me. I gotta go down here. Well done. Wait. Where is it? Oh, it's moving too fast now. Well done, Mark. Congratulations. The system is StreamYard based. I can't rig it. Congratulations, Nikki Ann. Email Claire@blownforgood.com with a link to the item that you would like in the blownforgood.com merch store. And she will send you a code, and you just order it and they just ship it directly to you. It's a really cool system, actually. And StreamYard has a giveaway tool just for it, which is totally not rigged. And yeah, there you go. Let's go back to here. There I am. I hope you guys like this. If you want me to do a video on a certain subject, just bloop it down in the comments. What YouTube does now, I didn't know this until recently. I was researching something for a project, and somehow I got into this article, and it basically said that YouTube is going through all your comments on your channel, and then they're serving you up what people want you to do a video on, and it's just doing it automatically. And I just went to this tab and I looked at it, and sure enough, there it was. And they said, I kid you not, they said, a day in the life of a Scientology Sea Org member. That's what it said. That's what people want to hear about. So I was like, okay, let's see if this YouTube thing is doing the right thing. And supposedly it is, because people wanted to know this. And I did go through the comments, and they did. So if you want to know about a certain thing, you can search the channel. We have literally done hundreds and hundreds of hours of videos on the most detailed and mundane aspects of the Sea Organization. But if there is something that we have not covered, get down there and bleep it. And if I get another Home Alone day like this, maybe I'll do it. And look, Claire says, thanks for joining. She's in the chat. She's somewhere where she doesn't have a camera all set up and everything, but she'll be back. She also did a video with Tony Ortega from the Underground Bunker, and you should check that out. It's just the last video that just came out this week. I think it was on Friday morning it came out. It was all about how people get their suppressive person declare order written on them, and what Scientology goes through to get it approved, and all the things they fill it out. I'm going to do a few more questions because people are writing here. Joe says, Claire was missed, but Mark, you held this down. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Did you do the information full hat? I don't know about the information full hat, but I did do, for every post that you do in the Sea Org, there's a hat. It's called the full hat. And it's basically all the writings that L. Ron Hubbard ever wrote about that job, or anything that anyone who's done that job may have put into something that says this is how to do this job. And for L. Ron Hubbard, there's courses for all of the organization full hats. There's everything for all of those posts. Golden Era Productions is a little tricky because they're very specialized posts. But when I was at Able International, I did the treasury. I was a treasury secretary. I was the vice president of personnel for a few months, and I got busted off of that because I couldn't get any new people into the Sea Org except for my sister. Bummer. And then I was the treasury secretary, and I slayed it at that. And I did the treasury secretary full hat. And then I did the full hat for quality control and all those other things. I did all the full hats for too. But I don't know about this information full hat nonsense. I love rewatching when I'm cooking, cleaning, etc. Well, thank you, love it. I appreciate that. This is great. It all seems to be a lot of busy work without any planning. That's exactly correct. So my job here is done because I explained it, and it is a lot of busy work without any planning. And this guy says it all seems like to be a lot of busy work without any planning. Yeah. Pretty much. If there's a takeaway, there's several thousand, let's say 3,000 to 4,000 Scientology Sea Org members that are just writing each other, and they're marking things on graphs, and they're talking to people, and every once in a while they get a little money from some people, and that's it. It's a big giant busy work scheme to get people to give them money. And there's a big thing in Scientology. Oh, if you want to go on a leave, or if you want to take a leave of absence, you got to get it approved, and someone has to cover your job, and they cannot lose you. The world is going to end if you are not here doing this job. And then when you escape, somehow the world doesn't end. So yeah, you could just not do that and do something else, and you'll be a lot happier, most likely. So if you are a Sea Org member, or if you're Scientology watching this is what's going on in there. It's just busy work. They're just wasting money, and they're just spending your money, and they're not taking any of the money for themselves. It's all going to Miscavige for sushi, snowmobile parties with Tom Cruise, little yacht trips with Tommy Boy. That's where all the money goes. Okay, Necessary Trouble says, thanks, Claire and Catherine. You are great mods and really do add to the chat. Yeah, thank you, Claire, and thank you, Catherine. And thank you, Claire, for joining us. And yeah, I think that's enough. I think that's all for now. We did have we have been doing shorts, and we did a whole bunch of Serge shorts. And if you haven't seen the story of Serge Obolinski, you can go check that out. That's the gentleman and the bunch of the shorts that we've been releasing on the channel recently. And Serge has been doing great. We're trying to get him. We're still trying to get him some work. Finding work for Serge has been a uniquely challenging endeavor. And you got to find something that's close to him that he can do without having arms, with just his hooks, and that he wants to do, and that is worthwhile. It's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that have to fit to make this happen. So we think we've got some cool stuff kind of in the works, and we'll see how Serge likes it and what happens. But that's that. Okay, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Let me oh man, I gotta get this comment off before I end this, and then play the outro. Bye, until next. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help support the channel, feel free to check out the merch store link in the description. We have Hail Xenu, Xenu is my homeboy, and BFG branded mouse pads, shirts, mugs, all sorts of other stuff in there that helps us to bring you new content on a regular basis. You can also pick up a copy of my book, Blown for Good, Behind the Iron Curtain of Scientology, in hardback, Kindle, and Audible versions as well. There's also a link to our podcast, and you can get that on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to watch another video, you can click on this link right here, or you can click on this one here, or you can click on the subscribe button right here. Thanks a lot. Until next time.